Hi, everybody. Bob Schwartz here, and I am here bringing you another taste of one of our pre-conference seminars. I am here with Brent Baum, and he's going to be presenting on his work with holographic memory resolution. Hi, Brent.
Hi, Bob. How's it going?
It's going great. So, we want to get to it for people because they're busy. Tell me, what do you think? What is the biggest challenge that you're planning on helping people with your workshop?
Well, there's no question that we moved into the millennium, the age of trauma between COVID and natural disasters and post-traumatic election disorder and all the, as I call it, and the stressing out. Everybody's been triggered with fear and anger. These are the two polarities of trauma. And my specialty has been trauma from my work with Oklahoma City bombing, TWA Flight 800, September the 11th. We were under contract with a number of dioceses for victims of abuse from priests and so on over the years. I've worked with a lot of trauma, probably 30,000 trauma survivors. And so I guess the gift that HMR brings, holographic memory resolution brings to the field is when we went through the discovery of the 7 breakthroughs. And my websites, if they want more info, we have 5 YouTube videos on the website, also healingdimensions.com. They can always check out for more detail. But when I developed the technique as a licensed addictions counselor, I'm not chemically dependent. My father was Asperger's. So I was thrown into the working with traumatized family members of addicts. And then it threw me into integrated wellness because when we applied the technique, a huge percentage of migraines, 95% of migraines are relives of the original. A huge percentage of panic attacks are relives of the original. So then it became integrative wellness. HMR was observed by the integrated medicine program of Dr. Andrew Weil. So then it became much broader, not just trauma, but stress, anxiety, small t trauma, big T trauma. And the thing that I think it offers to the energy psychology field, because there is a specific energy component, somatic psychology alone, as you know, couldn't explain some of the phantom pain. Even if the limb is gone, the memory's still there. Hence, energy psychology was brought in, and the understanding that the body is a hologram, and if a fragment of a hologram remains intact, the whole memory can be accessed, and hence phantom pain, holonomic, holographic memory. So the contribution we make is bringing together somatic, energy, and I added color psychology to the field. And when I applied the technique in the early 90s, by 96, I think the whole thing was ready. What it did is it activates, and the reason psychologists and therapists love it is it activates the body's own wisdom to identify, map, neutralize the complex sequencing that often occurs with memory, and to send a very personal signal to neutralize the emotional charge that attaches us to memory. So the problem isn't the past. The problem is how our body attaches to the past at the moment of encoding. And HMR is unique in that it targets that specific, what we call T-1, trauma minus a millisecond moment of freezing, so that if we can send a signal proof of safety to the subconscious, we're not changing your history. We're releasing your emotional attachment to the history, which is what activates the fight, flight, freeze response when a single fragment is triggered. And by sending a unique personal, we use brainwave frequency, your personal colors as brainwave frequency. So rather than the therapist have to initiate the process, the therapist or the hypnotist have to come up with a color or solution, the client is empowered to send their own safety signal from their 5% conscious mind to the 95% subconscious to say, thank you for holding on to this, but look, it's 2022, and unless I'm still experiencing the trauma, the bad things are over. So we're not here to change your history. We're trying to send to the body and think of the body in a different way to locate the moments of encoding. And a psychologist from New Zealand had identified a very nice clean language approach to access, but his solution mechanism didn't work well for me. When I did it with him in 90, I changed the solution mechanism, added color as a method to transmit proof of safety to the body, and then my own empathy. I am an empath like my mother was. So I figured out 10 years before the scientists did that the body doesn't know the difference between the original trauma and the intact memory, because they started coming up and I could actually feel the pain of the memory accessing. And when we reframed it, we call this technique emotional reframing, When we put in the missing signal from the client's own subconscious database, and they put in that missing signal, then migraines, panic attacks, all this pain was leaving. I could actually feel it. Had to keep myself clear, which is often a big question we'll address in the workshop, is how do you keep yourself clear as an empath? And we're all moving into the age of empathy now. This millennium is moving into, learning to pick up and our responsibility for each other and what we feel from that. And there's no more important question than how do I keep myself clear? How do I keep doing this work without taking this on? Because so many, probably 50% of the people I work on have a strong empathic capacity. We all have some. And the more you clear your traumas, the more empathic you get, the more you're able to pick up on information, both from yourself, your client, your family members. And we just live much more easily in this millennium of trauma.
One of the things I like about your work is, if I'm getting you right, one is if you're an empath, you definitely want to know some of the stuff to work on yourself, as you just said. And if you're not an empath, that's okay, because you don't need to, because the client picks what they're saying. And the other thing I would say, when I first first was like, oh, color, that's so simplistic. But as I've learned some of your work, it became, oh, whoa, this is so intense. So if somebody says, oh, what's the color of safety? And they say, oh, it's turquoise. So you saw them, I think, oh, well, turquoise, that's some number frequency, whatever it might happen to be. But that's not at all what you're saying, because what they say is turquoise, that's a label, is a way of accessing potentially maybe multi-frequencies. We have no way of really knowing, but
Correct.
Somehow it's encoded. It's their own empathic way of saying some number of different frequencies. So it's actually a very subtle and sophisticated way of getting people to tune into what they need.
Correct. So a lot of techniques do a generic targeting of the trauma scene by putting in a breathwork solution. But when I did archaeology in Israel, as you know, for 13 years, and in working with a research project with NASA with thermal scanners, we discovered that the colors you see for your memories are unique to your computer. So when that freezes, that quantum act freezes of creative perception, certain frequencies are missing if you freeze during a trauma. And I don't know your frequencies. We use standard words for color, but words are finite. Color is an infinite language. Right. And the colors you're currently using to create your little movie of me right now are unique to your computer. So you're exactly correct. The colors that we put in, that you put in, I can't put in my colors to heal your memories. I can heal little Brent, but I can't put in the missing frequencies for your moment in space and time when you froze perception. And when you put in those missing colors, it's like a key and a lock. And I know because when I did it 30 years ago, I felt the migraine leave. I felt the anxiety attack diminish. I felt the anger start to diminish in the body. Physical pain left if they were beaten or abused. And, we can all learn to do some of this empathic work. There are a couple of things I teach about how we all have some level of energy in our hands to facilitate access to memory. And depending on your state regulations, you may or may not be able to apply all of that. But the fact is that you're right, that the colors that we use to reframe a specific memory in space and time is like a surgical strike. And for that reason, rather than have to target and talk your way through an entire memory or hypnotically relive the whole thing, we are allowed with HMR to do complex PTSD mapping and resolution by putting in the specific frequencies that were missing when the bomb went off, and then another set of frequencies when you went into shock that your leg was missing, or then your friend died next to you. So we target every single moment of encoding with your personal frequencies for safety. And therefore, when you speak your own language to your body, it's much more expedient and efficient to put in proof of safety. And when you put all the colors back together, it stores white light. So,
I just love this language, this concept of proof of safety or experience of safety, because that's at the end of the day. How do you know? I always say, how do you know if a traumatic memory is completely done? And the answer is when you think about the event and your body feels safe.
Exactly.
How does that happen?
No emotional charge.
Right. Mm-hmm. How does that happen? Well, that's an interesting question. But this thing that you're talking about in particular is using these techniques to help activate what was missing, which I think is great.
Exactly.
I I'm wondering, because one of the things I ask people is there an experience and that might we could give? And I don't know about you, but I think everybody, I know I could use a little safety. We're all
Everybody's
stressed out.
traumatized.
So
Sure.
I wonder if maybe you could walk anyone listening a little bit through some of this experience.
Sure, I'd be glad to do that with you and do a little color work with you here.
Yeah.
So first thing, in fact, if you're a trauma therapist or work with anybody with some level of high level stress, anxiety, and children, I have an anesthesiologist on the board for my research. We're in clinical trials right now. But when his children hit 2, he teaches them the exercise I'm going to show you right now so they don't have to grow up with all this anxiety and fear. And so let's do that. So let's have you close your eyes for a moment. Very simple exercise, but it's the starting point for all the work that I do. And I encourage therapists to integrate it into their practice immediately. Always start by having your client at least try to create a safe scene in nature. It can be real or imaginary. Beach, mountains, lake, ocean, forest, garden, park, butterfly garden, field of wildflowers. If you can, you don't have to see it. You can think it. It's still fine. It can be real or imaginary. As you picture that place in nature, what's your favorite color or colors in that scene? I integrated color into the work around 94. And what we're going to do is, since we do 12 breaths a minute as our resting rate, and in linguistics with children discovered that 50 to 52 breaths sends it permanently into the subconscious long-term memory, 95% subconscious. We can update your subconscious with a signal that we send through 50 to 52 times. So I have you breathe it for 5 minutes. So when you finish this exercise, keep doing it for a day or two for about 5 minutes a day. Breathe that color through your body. Now, what I mean by that, since our body is mostly water, colors flow usually as waves pretty easily through the system. You can do a waterfall from your head down. If you're in the head a lot, you can go as a fountain from your feet up. You can also breathe in, ruach in Hebrew, breath, wind, spirit. You can breathe in the color into your body for 5 minutes, 60 breaths. It anchors into your subconscious. And because memory's technical term is holonomic, because memories in the physical body are holonomic, a smell, a color, sound, that color from your safe scene. Once you've done it for 5 minutes, you access it once, breathe in the blue color. 95% of you will go to your safe scene, and usually the 5% goes along with it. So you can have your children learn to breathe in their safe color. There's also an access point that enhances their visualization. You place your hand on, we teach to use the C7 point, the maternal nurturing point at the base of the neck, top of the spine. If you can do that with the child, they'll visualize. You'll see, if you look around the front, you'll often see their eyelids. HMR induces an alpha theta brainwave state, which enables the affective bridge. So you can put your hand on someone's C7 point to help them access, or your partner's C7 point if they're anxious, and often you'll see them calm down immediately. So breathe that color through your body for about 5 minutes. And whenever you're anxious, take a breath of that color. 95% will go to the beach or the mountains, 5% will go along with it. And you can start your sessions with your clients by knowing what they're, and that green or turquoise they see is not your colors. Each of our nerve centers is conditioned by our traumas and experiences. So my colors are always going to be a little bit different from your colors. And that's why, like you said, it's a very precise insertion that we make. So your personal color for safety is not anyone else's color. Your DNA and your experiences restrict that color in the continuum. And so when you breathe it through, it's personal to you. It's like a fingerprint. So breathe that color. And in the age of COVID and everything else, we really have to take extra care of ourselves. And these are techniques, along with clearing your own trauma history, that are really important for staying present to those we work on, for being emotionally available. And also, the more we clear ourselves, the more empathic we all become. And so breathe that color through your body for a few minutes and throughout the day today. And you'll find that it's really quite powerful. Teach it to your children and your loved ones and your clients as well.
And you'll be going more into this in the workshop and expanding on this. This is just the beginning point, but it's a lovely beginning point.
It is. It is. Well, we're going to work with level 1, level 2 patterns. We're going to work with complex PTSD in the workshop and consolidate. And then that gives you access to my deeper training should you ever choose to go there.
So I like, again, we're going to wrap this up, but I just like that this adds another, some people know tapping, some people do TAT, whatever, but this adds just, again, another
Right.
way, another tool. And for some people may become the tool you use. But it's really good to, I think this is really interesting work. And so we have 5 really amazing pre-cons. If this one calls to you, come on down, come to New Mexico. It's going to be great. And thanks, Brent. And this will be a great training for you.
My pleasure. Thank you. I love the New Mexico site. We've been there before. It's amazing.
Oh,
so I really
talk about, the energy there is fantastic.
Yeah, it really is.
Sandia
Native
Mountain.
American. Yeah, I think it's on the reservation, isn't it?
It's owned by the Pueblo. Yeah. Mm.
Excellent.
They own the hotel. It's Hyatt manages it. So
well, there you go. Great. Yeah. Excellent.
Well, thanks, Brent. See you
thanks,
there.
Bob. Okay, sounds good. Come and join us, everyone. It's a great place to visit, and you'll gain a lot of information and resources. So,
all right. Ciao.